Okay. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for all my new subscribers. We jumping off talking about the Goon Squad. The Goon Squad, for a lot of people that didn't know, were a number of police officers that were terrorizing neighborhoods in Mississippi, and they apprehended two gentlemen and tortured them. And one of those gentlemen were shot in the face. And when he was shot in the face, it started unraveling a lot of the situations started going on in the great state of Mississippi. Now, since then, the Goon Squad has been apprehended, and they have been federally charged for a lot of the terrorizing that they did in the district that they were that they were supposed to be policing in Mississippi. Now we're going to dive in and we're going to definitely talk more about what happened. And tell me, do you think that they should be apprehended? And and what do you think they did was right? Do you think what they did was absolutely wrong? So let's go to play this.
We're back in court. They've already pleaded guilty to federal charges of torturing two black men. Well, now they are staring down state charges. Prosecutors say the suspects, all of whom are white, called themselves the Goon Squad because of the excessive force that they've used. CNET's Ryan Young. He's following this. He joins us now. Ryan, can you talk us through this next round of charges that these men are facing? And also, you spoke with the victims.
Yeah, Kate, this has been heart-wrenching for those victims. They, for quite some time, have been trying to get anyone to listen to them about what they experienced on that night. 2 hours of torture. When you think about having oil spilled on your body, eggs thrown at you while you recall the N-word over and over. For quite some time, these men were trying to get someone to pay attention. Now, look, this is the first time we've actually seen these men in court because that first case was a federal trial. And as you know, can't get cameras in there, but this is a state court case. In fact, I can see on another monitor, this is pretty much wrapped up. You can see the video there of these men walking into court. They call themselves the Goon Squad, and it was their job to go out and dispense justice the way they wanted to. In fact, at one point, they even tried to sexually assault these men, and they used their tasers over and over again to see who had the most powerful taser. But listen to the men involved in this case and the horror they had to go through.
I crawled here to this spot, and they started beating me here and tasing me. As you can see, blood spots and all. And my blood spots there.
I'm embarrassed.
Yeah, that was Eddie Parker and Michael Jenkins. When you think about Michael Jenkins, at one point, one of these officers who's admitted to this took out a gun, and they believed they had cleared the gun. They put it in his mouth and they pulled the trigger. He cleared the gun again and put it back in his mouth and pulled the trigger. At that point, it shot through his tongue and exited his neck. That's why he has trouble talking to this day. He'll be dealing with this for the rest of his life. Now these charges are moving forward. Everyone involved in this case said they've never seen something like this in law enforcement. And you, of course, asked the question, what happened to the sheriff? The sheriff said he had no idea this Goon Squad was operating inside his department.
All right, so let's dive into this.
If you have this,
let's talk about
consider adding this. And
if we can pause this. Let's talk about this a little bit more.
AARP Medicare supplement
On form, and basically these gentlemen were. Why is it still going? They were apprehended because initially the 6 white cops thought that these guys were dating. They thought they were dating white girls. That's what it stemmed from. And is it a crime to date outside of your race? Absolutely not. You could date who you love and love who you date. So these guys targeted to these guys. They beat the guys, tased the guys. They made these guys shower together. Now, as a grown man, do you want to shower with another grown man? Absolutely not. All right. Their pleas Monday came after the former officers, 5 of them deputies in the Rankin County Sheriff's Office, the 6 and the officer for the Richland Police Department pleaded guilty this month to federal charges in connection to the same January incident, which the victims have claimed was motivated by their race. Former deputies Christian Dedman, Hunter Elward, Brett McAlpin, Jeffrey Middleton, Daniel Opdyke, and ex-police officer Joshua Hartfield were each charged with conspiracy to commit obstruction of justice, according to a news release from the Mississippi Attorney General's office. Now, what you got to think about, you got to realize that the state knew that these guys did this, but the state didn't take up these charges until they were federally charged, because before that then, and did something about it. Before then, it was all business as usual. All right. Additionally, Dedman was charged with home invasion. Elwood was charged with home invasion and aggravated assault. The release says McAlpin, Middleton, and Opdyke and Hartfield each face an additional charge of first-degree obstruction of justice. Why nobody was charged with attempted murder is my question. Because you did shoot a person in his mouth. All 6 appeared with their attorneys in Rankin County court Monday, shackled at the wrist and wearing prison jumpsuits. The names of the county jails in which they were being held were covered by duct tape. I'm going to say this. At first, you had guns, but it's no fun when the rabbits got the gun. It's just not. Prosecutors said the former officers kicked down the door of a home in Braxton, Mississippi, where the black men were living, and assaulted them for 2 hours. The officers did not have a warrant, and some called themselves the Goon squad because of their willingness to use excessive force and not to report it. And just think about how many people they did this to, and they did not report that. You got to think about that as well, because I'm quite sure that they did this to other people and they just did not report it. The 6 officers were charged with the combined 13 felonies in connection with the torture and physical abuse of the 2 men that attorney for Opdyke said the former officer has admitted to the wrongdoing and will plead guilty to all charges against him in Rankin County Circuit Court. Now, what if they got a snitch policy? And if so, who snitched on whom? Something to think about. I'm quite sure they snitched. Some people start snitching, right? He takes responsibility for his part in the horrific harms perpetrated on Mr. Jenkins and Mr. Parker, the victims, and is prepared to face the consequences of his misconduct, reads a statement to CNN from Opdyke's attorney, Jeffrey Reynolds. Now, how many people did they do this to? You don't just get the term the Goon Squad without doing this to other people. So my question is, did they do it to other people? No. You don't just get this term, the Goon Squad, without shaking down others. Other people just haven't come forward, I'm assuming. The victims, Michael Jenkins and Eddie Parker, filed a federal lawsuit in June alleging the officers illegally entered their home and handcuffed, kicked, waterboarded, and tased them and attempted to sexually assault them over nearly 2 hours before one of the deputies put a gun in Jenkins and shot him. This is Jenkins here. He was the one shotting him out. Shot in the tongue. He has a difficulty of talking. The deputies and their repeated use of racial slurs in the course of violent acts were oppressive and hateful against their African-American victims, the lawsuit says. Defendants were motivated on the basis of race and the color of the skin of the persons they assaulted. Parker enjoyed seeing the walk of shame during the plea hearing Monday. He told reporters afterward, "I hope this is a lesson to everybody out there. Justice will be served." Now, how the abuse and shooting unfolded. Let's talk about it. Let's unfold it. According to a federal charging document, Dedmon texts Elwood, Middleton, and Opdyke on January 24th about going to the property in Braxton to resolve a complaint received by McAlpin. McAlpin's white neighbor told him several black men were staying at a white woman's home and reported seeing suspicious behavior. So why this neighbor wasn't apprehended too? Because he the one tipped off. I think that he's not an innocent in all of this as well, right? He should be involved in all of this. Dedmon warned the deputies there might be surveillance cameras on the property, telling them to knock on the door instead of kicking it down if they saw any, the document stated. Otherwise, they should barge in without a warrant. The document continued. No bad mug shots, he said, meaning prosecutors said the defendants could use excessive force on parts of the body that would not be seen in a mugshot, according to the charging document. Dedmon told the others Hartfield would accompany them. Avoiding a surveillance camera above the front door, Dedmon, Opdyke, and Elwood broke open the carport door while Hartfield kicked open the back door, the document stated. They encountered Parker, who was living there to help take care of the woman who owned the property, and his friend Jenkins, who was staying there temporarily. So the people that owned the property, these two guys were there helping her possibly rehabilitate herself, because it doesn't specifically say, but they was there because they was asked to be there. Over the 2 hours, the two men were subjected to grueling violence at the hands of the white officers, the document said. They were repeatedly tased and called racial slurs, and the officers poured milk, alcohol, chocolate syrup in their mouths. Elwood threw eggs at the men, and Dedmon poured grease on Parker's head, according to the document. Eventually, Elwood removed a bullet from his gun, forced Jenkins into his knees, and put the gun into his mouth. The document stated, Elwood fired the gun, which did not discharge, then racked the slide. He put the gun back in Jenkins' mouth and pulled the trigger. Again, according to the document, the bullet lacerated Jenkins' tongue, broke his jaw, and went out through his neck. According to the charging document, the officers then devised a cover story and discussed planting a gun Middleton had in his patrol car on Jenkins. Instead, Elward planted a BB gun and the officers discarded the one shell casing. The document said Hartfield threw the man's soiled clothes in the woods and took the hard drive from the home surveillance system before throwing it in a creek. These guys were trying to cover up everything, right? Rankin County Sheriff Brian Bailey announced in June deputies had been fired. Now think about it. This happened in January. Why did it take to June? So these guys were still on the force for almost 6 months before they were fired. Though he did not say how many or their names, the Richland Police Department announced in July that Hartfield, who was off duty at the time of the alleged assault, had resigned. Oh, they allowed you to resign. Bailey, who does not face any charges, has said he would not resign. In a statement Monday, he said he hoped the guilty pleas bring some sense of justice to Parker and Jenkins. All right, so why wouldn't he? Okay, let's go back up. So Bailey, was he in this lineup? I'm confused. Okay, former Christian Dedman, Hunter Elward, Brett McAlpin, Jeffrey Middleton, and Daniel Opdyke. So why he? Okay, I'm gonna have to learn some more why he was not forced to resign. The Rankin County Sheriff's Office continues to evaluate and modify its policies, procedures, and training for all Sheriff's Office employees, Bailey said. We have asked for assistance from outside agencies and contracted with outside firms to evaluate us, make recommendations, and conduct training. These actions are taken to prevent anything like January's tragedy from ever happening again. Bailey is running unopposed for re-election. So I understand Bailey is actually the sheriff. That's why he wasn't forced to resign. But this goon squad should never walk the streets again. Now, I know that these guys are still living and breathing, but I hope they are made an example of, because it makes no sense that you will go in there just because these guys were taking care of a person that asked them to be there. She asked them to be there. And here's the part that they didn't say. Jenkins and Parker were targeted because a white neighbor complained that two black men were staying at the home with the white woman, the documents say. But listen to this. But Parker was a childhood friend of the homeowner, Christy Wiley. She has been paralyzed since she was 15, and Parker was helping care for her. So I want to know what exactly happened to Christy Wiley, the lady that was taken care of. He was taking care of a childhood friend. He probably was doing more for her than sometimes family. He's a blessing. Every time I've needed him, he's been here, Wiley said in the February interview. There were times I've been living here by myself and didn't know what I was going to do. Did you see that? She said he was there, a real friend. Parker and Jenkins have left Mississippi and aren't sure they will ever return to the state for an extended period. They took solace that at least one part of the justice system appears to have worked. With a little fight, with a lot of fight, You could come out with the truth, Parker said a day after the guilty pleas were announced. And the truth always prevails over any lie or any story you make up. Jenkins said he still has difficulty speaking because of his injuries. The gunshot lacerated his tongue and broke his jaw. As far as justice, I knew we were going to get it, Jenkins said, but I thought it was maybe going to take longer. Kristen Clark, who heads the Justice Department Civil Rights Division, said that officers fomented distrust within the community they were supposed to serve. Mississippi Attorney General Lynn Fitch said the abuse of power would not be tolerated. Yeah, you got him cold then, didn't you? So, what's sad about this is the young lady that's handicapped, she probably won't have anyone to help take care of her in the capacity that Mr. Parker did. So, this is Antonio with Team Tiggio. Please like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you in the next video.